I'm gonna give you a lowdown, gamification. I'm gonna give you a lowdown, gamification. I'm gonna give you a lowdown on gamification. Hello, people. How's life on Earth? I hope it's all good. I'm Steffen. I am going to talk about gamification, obviously. A couple words about myself. I just recently started a lab. We're doing research on games and on gamification. G-Lab. If you're wanting to give us funding, please see me later. I'm an author of books about games and playful interaction. I'm a dad. I used to be a musician, playing in bands all over the place. I'm now trying to get my daughter to start a band with me. And I've been working in the area of interaction, game design, consulting to all kinds of clients worldwide for almost 10 years. Oh no, 10 years now. Over 10 years. Good gosh, time is running. So, who has heard of gamification here in the audience? Raise your hand. Quite a lot of people. All right, so it's hot as hell, right? So, speaking of, what would happen if hell were gamified? And the cool thing about this now is that I get to use one of those really crappy effects that you get with Keynote. Now this is what a Tetris game would look like if it were gamified and it was hell. You couldn't probably win that game. So sometimes gamification doesn't really work. In fact, people think that this is a game, right? You know, you collect points. You know, and then you get something for it in return. That's not a game, really. So the problem with this debate that is ongoing, really, is that there's a certain preconception about players, the audience, your audience. And that conception is that everyone in that audience is a fucking dog. Well, that's wrong. We're not dogs. And we're not Pavlovian dogs either. We're people. Hello. Nice meeting you yesterday. So, gamification is just the wrong term, but it's a good idea. It's an interesting idea. What people are talking about at the moment when they talk about, you know, let's pimp up our service by giving points to people, or badges, or achievements, is actually pointsification. But games unequal points, right? You know that because everyone in this audience has been playing games all their lives, from early childhood to today. We even know by instinct what they are. So let's talk about all this. And also let's take a ride and look at the history of gamification, because the concept's been around for quite a while. And I hope this is going to be a little exciting for you, because we're going back in time. And we're starting with a guy, Johann Huizinga, who said, beginning of the 20th century, that all of culture is being played out. You know, you meet a girl, you start talking, you know, you play around, and then she says, hey dude, let's go in my cave, you know, but we have to marry first, so that is the rule. So play becomes a game then, all right? So everything in society, Huizinga said, is really played out. Rules, law. And these guys here, they said, much later, that entertainment is really sort of appeasing people, you know? We're using entertainment to just make people feel better, and so they can go back to work the next day. Situation is, they said, let's kill capitalism, by making the world a ludic playground, all of the world. Next level. Interesting example, I guess. A seesaw that was built so people, kids, could play, but actually they were pumping water in a small eco-village. Colombia. Frequent flyer programs, been around for 10 states in that case, right? 9+1. The Game, a movie showing what would happen if life would turn into a game. Here you have a loyalty program that I helped co-conceptualize, not the program itself, but the first launch of the service, which tightly coupled with the website. We have pervasive and ubiquitous games that have been around sustaining term, basically meaning that that games are expanding away from just sitting in front of computers, for example, by using smartphones, GPS, location-based services. In the early days, we called this pervasive or ubiquitous games. We got serious games where people are using games as vehicles to, for example, inspire people or to train them very close by. We got Facebook, social graph, a lot of social games. We had something like the ESP game, which is basically work in disguise, because what happens here is that you are comparing, two players are comparing what they think is in the picture, what they see in the picture, and then they agree on it, and they get points for it. So it's really work, because they tag the image. We've got something like this, or Explorer, a project that I worked on, where you get to collect points and solve quests in the UNESCO World Heritage City of Regensburg in Germany. And it's a little bit like Foursquare, really, but earlier on. And so you get a website for what you've done and what you've seen. Here, Mackenzie Wark wrote this grand book, this awesome book on the life game. Really, life is becoming game, he says. What the gamification debate is really saying, Mackenzie just anticipated. Here is a website that I did a couple years ago that also did well at South by Southwest Interactive, where you play little games in order to navigate the site. Okay? Here is an awesome example from Brooklyn. They're turning a whole school curriculum into game-based learning, Quest to Learn. We got Foursquare, big in the debate. And we got Jesse Sheld's talk at DICE, where he was saying, well, toothbrushing should be rewarded with getting points, scoring points. And you get an achievement for reading this. And then was replies all over the place saying, hey, Jesse, but this is all external rewards. This is not about games, really, because games are about intrinsic rewards. All right? And you missed out on a couple people who've been talking about this. And then, finally, we have people like Jane McGonigal, just published a book called Reality is Broken, where she says, we can use games to better the world because people can collaboratively play out and solve problems. All right? So, as you see, it's been around for a while. So what would that mean? Total gamification as in this. We all go on the street and we see like Pac-Man. Yeah? Maybe. I think we should rationalize the concept. And that's why I introduce the new term, gamificationization. Let's all say this together. Gamificationization. It's gamificationization. Gamificationization. So, as you can tell, and as I'm implying, this is all about rhetoric, people. Everyone has an agenda doing this, right? The Californian Sunshine School says we can save the world playing games. We have the Magic Circle School, people who are really into games, who said, well, if it's not a game, I'm not even going to talk about it with you, And then we have the opportunistic school saying, well, we can milk people using something that we call game. And then we have the cynical school that says, well, the game apocalypse will happen anyways, everything will become game-like, so let's make the most out of it and make money. And the critical theory school is saying, let's get drunk, what the fuck, it's going to happen anyways, but let's talk about it. So this is what I'm going to give you, because you're going to get those slides. It's a big comparison of what all these concepts are doing, what people are implying, and what the players are doing. So don't look at this for too long. It's going to be in your slides. Okay? added value, I think they call this, correct? Yes. So let's try playfulness, okay? Playfulness first. What I mean by this is playing is in our nature. It's in our nature. It's not about fucking points. It's about playing and interaction. It makes us feel good. And that is good for your health, for your sanity. And it's very social. Because we're social beings. We're not pointsy beings. Games require spaces that are defined and times that are defined. They are voluntary. They're not something that you force players into. They have rules. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's rules for karaoke, and it actually says don't get too drunk if you want to participate. And they are about conflicts, choices, interesting choices. Sometimes they have a narrative, and they have outcomes, real outcomes, not just leaderboards. In games, I know that this is not politically correct, but I thought it was so cheesy, I had really to take it, the image. It's very cheesy. So it's all about saving the princess, saving the world, intrinsic rewards. Sometimes I think it's not even about saving the world, but just saving one life. Someone who is probably in danger, someone who is ill. I think that is worthwhile. If it's an external goal, objective that you're aiming for. The processes and techniques that we game designers use to work, I think they can be very worthwhile for you people who want to do business and create new business, new types of models. We're doing iterative design. We take something, we figure it out, we try to build it virtually or build a simulation of sorts. Then we try to test it, play test it with real people, letting them try out the system. And if it fails, we have to go back. It can fail because it's not a good system. It can fail because people don't like it. They think it's not, playable or not fun. Although game does not always have to be fun, I think. But that's a different discussion. So we're using this iterative design technique. I'm evaluating games with people using questionnaires. I'm building pen and paper prototypes. We're prototyping, devices that we probably need to use. We're doing drawings of situations that we want to use, that we want the player to enjoy. And we're using, state machines, these kinds of things. These are our tools, really. Mostly, we need to talk to our players. So think about how you could use that for your business or for your idea. Play it out. Let go of all your big-time processes. Just sit down. There was an article, I think, in Harvard Review or something 2 days ago about creating a situation where you are almost having a kindergarten-like situation. What's wrong with a kindergarten? You think you're so grown up, waging fucking war and these kinds of things? That's not very grown up. So what's wrong with kindergarten? It's beautiful to sit there and to just enjoy and relax and try to build something together, puzzle it out. I think that's very awesome. We should probably recreate and rethink how we tick when we think about games and playfulness. I know that many of the audience, I assume that, don't think like that anymore, but still games are sort of thought of like childish stuff, particularly in countries that have sort of a weird leisure culture where movies are being interrupted in the middle. I hate that. How can you do that? Some, tips or whatever you want to call it, I put together. I'm not going to run you through all of them, but maybe something that helps you rethink or think about how you can apply this to what you do. For example, don't try to really squeeze a game-like system. If you consider gamification to use, or game mechanics to use for your model or your system, don't try to squeeze it onto that system just without really asking about the nature of what of the system that you're working with. Not every topic is really suited for working with games. You need to have a strategy first before you really think about using games in your company or your institution. Embrace innovation. Games give you the chance to over and over try to play out different outcomes. It's very typical for systems, right? Design for social interaction. Design appropriately. Increase intrinsic rewards. Get to know your players. That's very profane, but it's the truth. If you don't know who your audience is, then you're going to fail. If you say, oh, I love my game because I love it, but no one else is playing it, so what the hell, you know? Don't call your campaign to be a game or gamified unless it really is something like that. Because audiences will grow very tired very quickly. Also maybe with this discussion, because imagine a world where you get points for everything that you do. God, we'll be so tired. We'll be so tired. What else do we have? Oh, hire and talk to game professionals and researchers. You know? And do not only talk to gamers. Try to talk to people who have a broad perspective, but who have a love of games. Let's play together. Thank you.